A miracle has happened. The New York Times ran an op-ed acknowledging not only that the COVID virus originated in the lab, but the government officials and scientists conspired to keep the substantiating evidence secret. The lab leak theory was censored on social media because of pressure from the administration. We shouldn't have done it. Okay, just so everybody knows that. So here's from the, I'll read some of it from the article, right? So in 2020, when people started speculating that a laboratory accident might have been the spark that started the COVID-19 pandemic, they were treated like kooks and cranks. Many public health officials and prominent scientists dismissed the idea as a conspiracy theory, insisting that the virus had emerged from animals in a seafood market in Wuhan, China. And when a nonprofit called Eco Health Alliance, which is a CIA cutout, lost a grant because it was planning to conduct risky research into bat viruses with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, research that, if conducted with lax safety standards, could have resulted in a dangerous pathogen leaking out into the world. No fewer than 77 Nobel laureates and 31 scientific societies lined up to defend that organization.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Wuhan research was, the Wuhan research was totally safe. And the pandemic was definitely caused by natural transmission. It certainly seemed like consensus. This is the New York Times talking.
Yeah.
We have since learned, however, that to promote the appearance of consensus, some officials and scientists hid or understated crucial facts, misled at least one reporter, meaning they lied, orchestrated campaigns of supposedly independent voices, and even compared notes about how to hide their communications in order to keep the public from hearing the whole story.
Yeah.
And as for the Wuhan laboratory's research, the details that have since emerged show that the safety precautions might have been terrifyingly lax. Might have been?
I heard they were like a dental office, but anyway.
This is...
Yeah.
Why haven't we learned our lesson? Maybe because it's hard to admit that this research is risky now, and to take the requisite steps to keep us safe without also admitting it was always risky.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps we were misled on purpose. Perhaps. Even though we have tons of evidence that they were lying to us.
Yeah.
This New York Times reporter still says perhaps.
Right.
Take the real story behind two very influential publications that quite early in the pandemic cast the lab leak theory as baseless. By the way, this writer is pretending that she wasn't in on it. Right?
Or that she didn't report what she knew at the time. Because if I knew, she knew.
Right, that's right. I knew it.
You knew it.
How did I know it? How did Joe Rogan know it?
We read something.
That's right. Kind of like when Jake Tapper wrote a book on the Biden dementia cover-up. That's what this is. The first organization was a March 2020 paper in the Journal of Nature Medicine, which was written by 5 prominent scientists and declared that no laboratory-based scenario for the pandemic virus was plausible. But we later learned, through congressional subpoenas of their Slack conversations, that while the scientists publicly said the scenario was implausible, privately, many of the authors considered the scenario to be not just plausible, but likely. So Dr. Fauci and those scientists who wrote that article, The Proximal Orange, they were lying. They were lying to us. And anybody who questioned their lies was called a racist.
And your career was obliterated, and he sent those emails of how to squash this information, which have been covered, like by Jim Jordan and those Congress hearings and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. And Peter Daszak, the guy of Eco Health Alliance, was part of the WHO investigation into the lab. They sent 6 people into that lab, sent them in there. They looked around, and you know what they said? Nothing to see here. And you know what the news reported? Lab leak unlikely. And that's what was reported.
It's weird that I knew this 5 years before the New York Times. Isn't that weird?
And me. And I didn't even have an editorial job. And I read it. And then when I looked into it, I saw other articles and proper papers confirming this. You know, that virus didn't even come from Wuhan. That type of bat is in the Yunnan province, which is 1,000 miles south. They don't even have that type of bat.
So one of the authors of that paper, the evolutionary biologist Christian Anderson, she wrote in her Slack message, the lab escape version of this is so friggin' likely to have happened because they were already doing this type of work, and that the molecular data is fully consistent with that scenario. That's what the scientists were actually saying. But they were saying something completely different publicly. Fauci was lying to you. The New York Times was lying to you. The Lancet was lying to you.
Yeah.
Nature magazine was lying to you.
Yeah.
They were lying to you. They weren't misleading.
It's so unbelievable, though.
And still nobody's upset that they were lied
Nobody's
to.
upset.
Nobody I know who votes Democrat is upset that they were lied to about COVID, the biggest thing that ever happened.
I still don't understand why you don't have mainstream doctors on your show.
I had a guy come on my show and said, Jim, you should bring more mainstream doctors on.
Like who? Peter Hotez?
Right? Spooked, the authors reached out for advice to Jeremy Farrar, now the chief scientist at the WHO.
Oh.
In his book, he revealed he acquired a burner phone.
Oh. What is he?
And he arranged meetings for them with those scientists who were writing that paper to lie to you. So this guy at the WHO, he got a burner phone, and then he arranged meetings for those scientists with people like Francis Collins, who was the head of the NIH, and people like Anthony Fauci. He got a burner phone.
Like, people are using Slack and getting burner phones?
Burner
phones.
What
they're doing? This is what people do who, like the Ashley Madison people, right? Like this is what people do who want affairs, to have affairs.
I think every trusted authority in the health industry should be caught using a burner phone. Nothing says integrity more like a burner phone. And the New York Times still refers to it as perhaps they were misleading us on purpose. They were using burner phones.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were saying
they don't want to get busted. It's clear as day.
That's as clear as day.
Yeah.
Documents obtained through public records request by the nonprofit U.S. Right to Know show that the scientists ultimately decided to move ahead with the paper. So they ultimately decided to lie. That's what I can rewrite that for this writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So operating behind the scenes, Farrar reviewed their draft and suggested to the authors that they rule out the lab leak theory even more directly, and then they complied. So they just knowingly lied. So again,
right.
You think that scientists and doctors have some kind of integrity? They can be bought just like anybody else. Just like anybody else, they're bought off. And so what this woman doesn't write in this article is that Dr. Fauci gave them like $8 or $9 million in research grants, and then they completely flipped their story.
Right. Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anderson later testified to Congress that he had simply become convinced that the lab leak, while theoretically possible, was not plausible. Later, chat logs obtained by Congress show the paper's lead authors discussing how to mislead this guy, Donald McNeil Jr., who was reporting on the pandemic's origin for the New York Times. So they all got together. Hey, how do we lie to the New York Times? This is Dr. Fauci, all those people. So as to throw him off the track about the possibility of a lab leak. Wow, what a bombshell. I mean, it was a bombshell when I reported it 2 years ago.